Let us consider how to provoke one another to love and good deeds. Those are not words I usually put together. I don't usually think of good deeds when I hear the word provoke. When I hear of people being provocative, I don't think love and good deeds. And over the last 12 days or so, I bet you have encountered more than your fair share, as have I, of people making provocative statements. And I bet you have seen more than your fair share, as have I, of people getting provoked. It seems over these last 12 days or so that many of us are certain that momentous things are ahead of us, whether we welcome them or fear them. You might say, I would say, that these end times readings we have today are poorly timed. But some may say, oh, they're perfectly timed, because there are those of us who are saying that the end is near, no matter who you voted for. But I hope you are happy to hear this. I am not one to preach on apocalypse, Armageddon, or anything scary about the so-called end times in the Bible. Suffice to say that I think much of the commonly heard theology around end times is simply wrong. I would not dare speak on something so substantive and scary with a suspect theology and scant amount of scripture. That would be entirely too provocative. But as the baby of my family, it is my job to be a little provocative. And I think I found a line, a phrase that I can milk all of the provocative value out of it. And I read it just a few minutes ago. It's literally provocative. It said, let us consider how to provoke one another to love and good deeds. Provoke one another to love and good deeds. If only. What if? What if most of us could try this most of the time with most of the people we encounter? Most of us, to provoke one another, but not to anger, not to hateful action, but to love and good deeds. I confess, I think that would be fantastic. It would be great if we all could do that, or at least most of us, most of the time, with most of the people. But I also confess another part of me thinks it sounds entirely too naive for these troubling times. To me, making a better world by provoking each other to love and good deeds sounds a little bit like the same logic as saying, if you see someone who doesn't have a smile, give them one of yours, and thinking that that mindset will keep you safe in a harsh and brutal world. That would be naive. And we're not naive. We're mindful that we are awash in enmity and conflict and threats. We know that there are those who say that we are not just different from each other, but that we are each other's enemies. The stakes are very high. There is real animosity, both organic and contrived, and it is deeply entrenched in our midst. I don't think even Pollyanna would have thought you could look on your bright side your way out of this scary time. I don't know about you, but when something's on my mind and I don't want to deal with it, song lyrics go through my head that make me think of it anyway. And so I've got these lyrics that have been playing in my head over the last few days. Find myself repeating Phil Collins' words from his song, Land of Confusion. Have you heard it? Y'all are in for a little treat.
You're going to sing it?
Here are the lyrics that keep playing over in my head. Now, did you read the news today? They say the danger's gone away, but I can see the fire still alight. They're burning into the night. There's too many men, too many people making too many problems, and not much love to go around. Can't you see this is a land of confusion? Too many people. Too many people making too many problems and not much love to go around. Sounds like today. So again, I think saying provoke to love and good deeds, even though it's in the Bible and can't just be ignored, rings naive, and we are not naive. But we are Christians. We are taught to have hope even when we don't feel hopeful. Luckily, I got some inspiration about that very thing just this week, and I want to share it with you. I hope you find it helpful. Now, it may impress you, or it may surprise you to know that I'm currently reading a book. It's a book written by an Episcopal priest named Becca Stevens. Becca has done more amazing things to help people heal than there are stars in the sky. This entire homily could be a 5,000-page homage to her work, but we don't have that much time, and I don't know 5,000 pages worth of word. But suffice this to be what I have to tell you about Becca. If you haven't heard of Becca Stevens or her residential program, Thistle Farms, if you haven't read one of her 11 books, if you have not heard her speak, do so. You can find all about her in those books and some of her talks and about Thistle Farms on that thing they call the Google. It's just in your thing. You just do that and it comes up. So look that up the minute you're able to, not this second, please. So I'm rereading her book, Practically Divine, and I can't go 2 pages without underlining or highlighting several things. The whole of the book is a breath of hope and inspiration for me in these hard times. And because of all Becca personally has overcome in her own life, because of all of the major tragedies that she has seen the aftermath of around the world, because of all of the horrors women in her hometown have suffered through human trafficking, Becca's writings aren't whistles in the dark. There's not a platitude on any page of the book. Becca Stevens is far from naive. And when Becca speaks to healing horror and to healing trauma, she speaks to reconciliation. When she does that, she speaks with a woundedness that is still healing and with a wisdom that amazes. And she stopped me dead in my tracks this week. She wrote about the rage that a Thistle Farms resident was feeling, a rage which she used to cover the oceans of harm done to her and to cover the oceans of harm she had witnessed. The rage was provoked by the harsh isolation and the fears of the early days of the COVID pandemic. And at Thistle Farms, the lockdown had caused many cracks to appear in their foundation of community. COVID caused unvarnished imperfections to manifest and infect their bunker of life. I don't think any of us probably has forgotten those were scary times. Many of us found ourselves provoked and not for good. Becca remembers and reminds us there is plenty to be angry about in this world. She goes on, and there are plenty of reasons to step away from one another. I think she's right. Today, we know there is real hurt being handed out freely in uncivil political discourse. I hear real and existential fear in some of your voices. I read real and existential fear recently into a huge electronic bulletin board or electronic billboard. It looked like it was 5 stories high. And it had a full body image of a particular political candidate on it. And the words on it read, "They are coming for you, but I'm standing in their way." So whether it's organic or contrived, or both. There are too many among us experiencing real existential fear on all sides of every aisle. We are hardly provoking one another to love and good deeds. There's not a lot to be Pollyanna about. Handing out smiles will not get us where we need to be to feel safer and more connected to each other. Becca writes of the awful things humans do to each other, even in this so-called modern age. And she and the women of Thistle Farms, they are not unaware at all, through experience and through witness, of intentionally inflicted trauma. And yet, Becca also writes this: you and I and all of us are bound to grace. There are times in our lives when we swear that our bond to God's grace and to other humans has been severed, when we instead feel bound to injustice and prejudice. There's plenty to be angry about in this world, and there are plenty of reasons to step away from one another. But there is freedom if we can stay bound to one another in grace. It appears you find at Thistle Farms, and you should find, I think, in every faith community and in every Christian soul, that the path out of despair, the path out of our brokenness, merits moving into and through the pain, into and through the grief, together, knowing that even as we stutter, step, and stumble, we are not walking alone. You and I are tethered to the God who never leaves us alone. We are tethered to the God who forever breathes upon us an endless supply of grace and forgiveness. It's good for us to find our people to walk with on this nonlinear path of healing and love and life. And it's good for us to trust and hold tightly to the bond of grace, that bond of grace that I believe God both binds us and liberates us with. It's good for us to grow to see anew the world still is beautiful if beleaguered. Humans are beloved if broken, including us. For me, I know to heal and to reconnect with those who don't vote like me, or think like me, or pray like me, or look like me, to even connect at all with those who may want nothing to do with me. I know that to reconnect with myself and with God and with everyone else, I have to find that bond of grace and hold on. I have to find my people with whom I grow, and I have to walk this journey with them. I have to trust God and grace and a few humans, just enough to provoke them and be provoked by them to love and good deeds. You and I can't fix all this, but we can cover it in grace, and we can fight. Not so much one another, but fight for reconciliation where it's possible and where it's safe. We can find healing and reconnection within ourselves and with each other. That doesn't sound like a lot, but it is all we have. But lest we forget, Ephesians tells us God, by the power at work within us, is able to accomplish abundantly far more than all we can ask or imagine. I think Phil Collins read that verse, when he wrote the final lyric to his song. Now this is the world we live in, and these are the hands we're given. Use them and let's start trying to make it a place worth living in. Hope and love never die. So let's provoke one another to love and good deeds.